Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another player analysis for the 2021 NFL Draft. Today, we are doing highly rated South Carolina cornerback Jaycee Horn, and we're going to be talking about what we like, what we don't like, where we think he will go. An analysis. I did mine on Rashad Bateman. Series will hopefully continue to do, so make sure to subscribe if you are new for more draft content. Jaycee Horn, let's get into the deep dive.
We're talking about Jaycee Horn in this video, and as a prospect coming out of South Carolina, he was a 4-star recruit. He stands at 6'1". He's 205 pounds, which for the current NFL, it's a big corner, but it's starting to become the new normal.
Yeah, something we were talking about. Corners are starting to get bigger. Had a 4.39 40 time. Let's get into, the stats. What separates Jaycee Horn in 2020? His full stats were he had 6 passes defended, he had 2 interceptions and 10 tackles. He was targeted 24 times, over 239 passing down. So someone who is not targeted a lot. He allowed 8 receptions in 2020, which is, actually crazy if you really think about it. Against Auburn, against Seth Williams, he locked him down very, very well in the red zone. So Jaycee Horn, very good corner. But guys, what I want to talk to you about is, Suraj, I want to go to you first since you haven't got to, say much yet. What do you like about Jaycee Horn? What are the pros you see within this cornerback prospect?
I really like Jaycee Horn for one. I think one of the best characteristics about him is, of course, he's big, but he's also very physical, which obviously some people can use as a con. But the freaks in the wide receiver nowadays, like DK Metcalf, Julio Jones, I think you need to be physical. You have to go mano-a-mano with them. And I think Jaycee Horn has the potential to do that. I think when you look at it nowadays, you see some of the best corners like Stephon Gilmore, Jair Alexander. They're very physical on the line. That's what you're looking at of corners nowadays. I think he also, again, has very good speed, which is, again, another strength that you need to have in today's NFL, considering, again, how fast today's NFL wide receivers are. I think those are the most 2 important, I'd say, unteachable characteristics. So I feel like he's very good in those areas. And obviously he has flaws, but I think when you're looking at like kind of what you need out of a cornerback in today's NFL and how to lock down some of the best wide receivers in the NFL, I think those are the first two things to look at, really.
I agree with Suraj there completely. I like Jaycee Horn going in. I think he has cornerback 1 potential, and it's something very rare that we see out of rookie cornerbacks that we just say, okay, this guy's a cornerback 1, because last season we saw that with Jeff Okudah and nobody else. He's a versatile guy, which means he could potentially slot in as a slot corner and fit in to a cornerback 2, and he could deal with faster players, as we've seen. But he just strikes me as that cornerback 1 presence that any team with a dodgy secondary could need.
Something at least what I look for in corners is how can you play 1v1? I feel like, again, in the modern NFL, it's not the most important thing to be able to do because, if you're very good in zone and that's the scheme your team runs, then you can, and if you can execute that, then yeah, you're a great corner. What I love about Jaycee Horn is that you can kind of put him on an island with one of those receivers and he can really lock him down. As I said, with Seth Williams, with Elijah Moore, he's a very, very good aggressive man-on-man corner. Very good at pressing the line. He's very physical at the line, which you don't see with a lot of corners. At least really, when was the last corner? Richard Sherman's a pretty good example of that. Someone who's very aggressive at the line. Patrick Peterson is a great example of that. Another thing I love, which we haven't really talked about, is tackling. Corners that are good at tackling, immediately you just shoot up draft boards, because when you have a good corner tackler, you can trust them to tackle a running back in open field. Again, there's a bit of a problem there, but very good at shedding off tackles, blows up blocks if you've seen some of his film, and can really tackle people very well. So I'm a fan of Jaycee Horn. I think really it's system wise, but I'm a big fan of really what his potential has shown so far.
When you look at Jaycee Horn obviously isn't the finished product, but when you look at him, I think he actually provides maybe the highest upside in this draft. If he goes to the right team, and we'll get into that later, if he goes to the right team with the right system, with the right coach, and doesn't have to step in and be that cornerback number 1 straight away, I think he has the potential to be one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL and easily a cornerback number 1.
So Dylan, what do we not like about Jaycee Horn right now in the draft?
Obviously, he's an unfinished product, so he definitely has the ability to grow some of these areas. But year 1, penalties are going to be a problem because depending on where he goes, he's going to be guarding wide receiver ones or slot receivers, and those are fast people. And as fast as he is, he might not be able to keep up with some of them. So he's good. And him being as aggressive at the line as he is, it might be a problem that he'll be giving up 25 to 50-yard pass interference penalties, and it could be costing his team points. And for me, but the biggest problem is he's very scheme dependent, because a lot of people have been pointing out that he's not great in zone, but that can be worked on. That can be fixed with a defensive coordinator. But when you're a college player and you fit into one system time and time again, it takes real adjustment to fit into a new system. And a player that I'd like to point out that hasn't been able to do that over his first year only, I guess, AJ Terrell, because he was drafted really high hoping that he can fit in, but he never was able to. And hopefully he can fit in at Atlanta and it'll work out. But I could see a strong comparison that Jaycee Horn might not be ready to go wherever he's drafted just because he hasn't seen many schemes defensively.
That's arguable with like basically all of the corners last year. I mean, Jeff Okudah, we didn't see much. Obviously injuries. CJ Henderson was literally non-existent. I didn't hear his name once during the season.
Except for when he forgot to tackle that guy.
Yeah. I mean, corner, unfortunately, is probably the hardest position to go into the NFL and immediately be good. And the ones we see do that, like Jalen Ramsey, are generational talents. Will Jaycee Horn be that? Maybe. Maybe not. But Suraj, what do you think? What do you not like about Jaycee Horn?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have to agree with you again. Physicality, while again, it's kind of the same thing. Physicality can be a pro, but it also could be a con. I feel like in today's NFL, I know I say today's NFL a lot, but you see when the referees are not as lenient with the cornerbacks as they used to be. So if you even see a little like grab of the shirt or something like that, it's very risky. You can be very prone to long penalties. And in the NFL, you can't afford that. And I think, again, it's something he has to work on, but you don't want to completely eliminate that. So I still think, obviously, it's a worry, but I still think he should be able to overcome that. Again, zone coverage, it's a bit of an issue, but I think the teams that do their research and do play predominantly man, again, we'll talk about that very, very soon. I think he'll be a great fit there. And as long as he gets drafted to the right organization and, again, right scheme, which in my opinion, again, you can say that with most, like Cian said earlier, you can say that with, obviously, he maybe is a bit scheme dependent. But again, like Cian said, you can do that with most NFL cornerbacks, which I think is really not as much as a problem as people seem to make it out to be. And I think if he is drafted to, again, the right system, he'll be a very, very good cornerback.
Obviously, being aggressive, I think we see someone like Jalen Ramsey who's able to harness that aggressiveness and, not get as many penalties. And I mean, we've seen how good Jalen Ramsey can be. The big problem with that is his hand placement, which obviously leads to penalties, holding, stuff like that. It's a lot more nitpicky in the NFL, as Suraj said, because, I mean, it's fair, I guess, but, every little thing can be flagged against, whether that be fair, whether it be JC's fault or not. It does need to be touched upon. Again, you get a good, it really, I mean, the NFL all depends what team do you go to. Speaking of that, let's start to wrap it up. Dylan, what is your team you'd like to see him go to scheme fit wise? What is your grade on him in terms of where he'll be drafted, and what is your ranking grade?
For me, I think I would really like to see him go and fill in for Patrick Peterson at the Cardinals, because they're very similar players. It's a very reasonable pick for him to go in that area of the draft, and it could really help solidify a struggling secondary. And I think it makes a lot of sense for the Cardinals, and for Jaycee Horn, it would be a perfect opportunity to either showcase himself as the 1 or the 2, depending on the ability of Dre Kirkpatrick next season and in preseason. But I think it's a good place for both teams to have him on the board and him at the team. For me, I think his ceiling would be 10 to 15. I would say a top 15 pick would be my ceiling for Jaycee Horn, just because this is a very good draft class. In most draft classes, I'd say he solidly sits in the top 10. And his floor is late first round, just barring injuries or a bad pro day. But pretty much I don't see that happening. My ranking for him is, I was going to say third ranked corner because Surtain and Caleb Farley are obviously higher ranked, but I'm actually going to change that to second because I haven't seen those targeting and reception stats from any other corner in college football. So I'm going to put him at second in my prospect ranking.
For me, I think the Patriots is a good fit. I think they could very likely move off of Gilmore this year, whether trades. I mean, and even the Cardinals have been, talked about to trade him. I think his ceiling right now to be drafted, I think he could be a top 13. I have a top 13 grade on him. And then my floor would be a late first round pick grade. I really do not see him falling out of the first round. I think that would be, first of all, a steal in the second round, like we kind of saw from like Xavier McKinney last year. But I don't see him falling out of that round. And then my prospect ranking guy as well, I have him as my second ranked corner at Surtain, and then him. Farley I haven't seen much of, and I really, as Dylan said, I haven't seen a corner in college football this year that has those reception stats, or not letting that many receptions against him. He had very good stats. He seems like if you can touch up penalties, I think he can be the best corner in this class.
I think for me, I think the best possible destination for Jaycee Horn would be the Chicago Bears. I think really when you look at Jaycee Horn, I think he fits very well into that system. The Bears and their new defensive coordinator, Sean Desai, I don't want to say that wrong. Hopefully I didn't, but I think he shares a lot of similarities to Fangio, where the Bears defense on all facets of the line and to the secondary were very physical. And I think we saw Desai runs a lot of cover 3 or cover 1. So I would be very cover 3 or cover 1. So I'd be very pleased if he went to a team like the Bears. So I feel like, especially now with them releasing Kyle Fuller, it seems like they have a very good combination of obviously good fit, but also a very important need for the Chicago Bears. So I think it's a heaven matchup for team in place. Will he fall there? I don't know. There are a lot of desperate teams like the 49ers, even at 12, as high as that place, who could maybe snatch him up if they really want him, if Surtain and Farley are off the board. And I have him as my third ranked, and I understand the numbers do suggest that he could be in the top 2. But I just feel like, again, Farley opted out, so I can't really bring him down or anything. And Surtain proved to be, in my opinion, just one of the most steady, one of the most pro-ready cornerbacks in this class. So for that reason, I have Horn as number 3.
All right, guys, I hope you did enjoy that video. Make sure to subscribe if you did enjoy. This was the Sports Scoop. Make sure to come back to our channel, turn on notifications, and subscribe so you do not miss another player analysis. We're going to try and pump out as many as we can. We're going to get a lot of series out to you guys, especially after the Draft Our Bust or Boom series is coming back. So we got a ton of stuff coming out for you guys. So do make sure to stay up to date. Follow our socials, link down below. We're very active on our Instagram. That's where you can get in contact with us the most. This was Cian McDermott, Dylan Shalom, and our other host, Suraj Kadali. I hope you did enjoy the video, and we will see you in our next one.